Hey everyone, Happy New Year. I hope you guys are all off to an amazing 2022. And yes, we're starting the year with an hour-long video. It's actually my first interview, and I'm so excited to share the conversation with you today. It's with Chris Ulrich. He is a former pro national level racer, and not only that, he's actually a motor journalist, as well as Vice President of Racing Operations at Team Hammer, which is one of America's most prestigious racing teams. In fact, they just won the 2021 Moto America Supersport Series, and it's just an incredible accomplishment, so congratulations to them for that. And I just want to say thank you to Chris for taking the time to talk with me and sharing your stories and sharing your insights. I think our viewers are going to just absolutely love it. Before we continue, make sure you hit the subscription button and the bell notification icon. Thank you. And to our viewers, this is just an incredible opportunity to get the insight on Team Hammer, what it's like to be a professional racer, what it's like to be a motor journalist, and also hear Chris's thoughts on road racing in America, where it's headed, as well as the impact of the new Supersport rule changes, which I think are very, very exciting for racing in general. And to help you guys navigate the conversation, I've left timestamps below. And also I've left some pretty important links below as well, including how you can support the Roadracing World Action Fund, which is initiative to raise money to build and deploy more air fences all around the United States to help protect riders and their communities. So it's a super, super awesome initiative. Please click on the links below and check that out and support it if you can. So let's get into it. Grab your favorite drink, coffee, beer, whatever it is, kick back and enjoy the show. Thank you. So hey everyone, this is super exciting news. This is our first ever interview or conversation with someone in the channel, and today I have a very, very special guest to kick it off with, and it's Chris Ulrich. Chris and I met actually in Spain in October for the RC8C delivery experience, and he is a motor journalist, but he does so many things in the world of road racing, and we had a great time over there together, and so really excited to bring him on the channel. And why don't I give Chris a moment to kind of introduce himself.
I got to commend you on your background. It's much better than mine.
Thank you.
I like it.
Appreciate it.
Much more tech savvy than I am. Yeah, I play a lot of different roles. I have a lot of different roles in the motorcycle industry. So I am the Vice President of Racing Operations for my family's race team, Team Hammer Inc., which currently races as M4XR Suzuki in the Moto America Series. And 2022 is going to be our 42nd year of professional operations.
Wow.
And then I'm the racing editor for Roadracing World, and that's it's been operating since 1990, so a little 32 years there. And
wow.
I've had a column in the back since I was 16 years old. I missed 2 months of that since then in all those years. So growing up in print there. So I do my role there is most of their high-end testing in terms of motorcycles and anything fast racy to adventure tourer bikes. So
yeah,
whatever you got, I've been doing the motor journalism thing. And in terms of testing motorcycles, actually, since my first press launch was 2000. So when I was
what was that bike?
20 years old, R6.
R6. Oh wow.
Yeah. R6, and then my second launch was the relaunch of the GSXR 1000 at Road Atlanta. I remember that one. It was. I turned 21 a couple of days before that, so it was a pretty raucous event.
That's awesome. Oh, that's a cool birthday event.
Yeah, first time they let me off the leash and went solo, so it was pretty interesting. But I've been doing that, and I also had a 23-year racing career. So I started racing when I was 13 years old. Turned on YSR 50s and then 80s, 125s.
Yeah.
Turned pro on a 125 at 16. Made my AMA debut at 18 on a 250 Grand Prix and raced that in 250 Grand Prix until I was 20. I finished third in the championship in 1999 there, fifth in 2000. Then I graduated to 750 Supersport in 4-strokes and won a couple nationals in 750 Supersport. A few podiums in the professional level, Super Stock 1000. Superbike, and finished my Superbike career in 2016 after I got, had a shoulder injury. That a lot of good education during the career. I was kind of one of those workhorse journeyman kind of racers that I was a top 5 guy, 5th to 10th guy. If I had a really, really good day, I could sniff the podium. But just worked. I was the kind of rider that they could take my settings and deliver them to a more talented rider, and he could go win. So, which is fine. I'm good with that. It
Yeah.
gave me a great education. I kept me in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
And, additionally, on top of the racing stuff, I was actually, running the program too for the last 3 years, from actually through injuries and stuff. 2006 until 2016, I was running my own program, essentially finding the sponsorship, doing a lot of the management, and so that laid the groundwork for the end of career. On top of that, I'm the pilot for the 2-seat Superbike at Moto America races, and I've been doing that stuff since '04, and a lot of different things. Kind of to be diverse, so you can stay in this game for a long time.
Yeah, I'm trying to process like all these things that you've done. There's like different chapters of your life, right? You started as a racer, and you became a team program. You ran your own team in terms of the program of it. Now you're doing motor journalism, as well as you're VP of the Team Hammer racing team as well. So there's so many different facets of your life in motorcycling.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah. How did you even get started in racing in the first place? So just for context, a lot of our viewers here are track day enthusiasts and riders, not necessarily racers. And a lot of the folks that have reached out are they ride track days, or they want to get into track days. But racing in of itself is a kind of a different it's a niche within that itself, right? So
Yeah.
how did you get started in racing?
No, I mean, you used to have to go racing to get on track. So
There you go.
before the advent of track days, it's my family's business, right? So my father was my father's John Ulrich, and he's a 2017 inductee in the AMA Hall of Fame.
Wow.
He's been doing motor journalism since the 70s, and then him and his partner Bruce Hammer started Team Hammer in 1980, and there were two guys that were. My dad was 26. Bruce was 32, I think, at the time. And they, at the time, you had to, they were quite quick, but you had to be a 19-year-old dirt tracker really to get a factory ride or anything like that. So my dad got back from Suzuki. He did a Suzuki 8-hour for Cycle World.
Yeah.
And a story on that, and they had these really trick F1 bikes out back there.
Whoa.
Powered by like GS 1100s and other engines, and he said, got back and was like, look, if we get one of these bikes, we can probably do some damage in endurance racing.
Yeah.
And they did, and the team made its debut and won, I think, 3 of the first 5 races they did.
Incredible. For the endurance series.
Yeah, for the endurance, and endurance was really, really popular back then.
Oh yeah.
And then started chipping away at that. In '82, Bruce hit a guardrail at Road America in a carousel, and was turned into quadriplegic, unfortunately. And ended his racing career and more or less his involvement in Team Hammer. So my dad carried on with the program.
Yeah.
While he was working at various magazines, and we took over full ownership, I think, in 1990. Or 1989.
Yeah.
And then carried on. Actually, Bruce now runs a pretty successful company building, manufacturing products for people with handicaps. And he carried it on. And doing the full run, right? 1986, got Suzuki support. Won the championship in 83, 84, 86, got some Suzuki support, and they were Suzuki supported team from 86 to 2012. We had to do a Honda project for 2 years, and then came back to Suzuki, and now the team runs Suzuki's premier racing program with the factory superbikes.
That's incredible. So you've had that relationship with Suzuki for quite a long time then.
Yeah. It goes back a long ways, but I mean, the racing thing, so there's four of us, 4 Ulrich kids. In the family. I got an older brother, older sister, and a younger sister, and of all of them, I was the only one that really loved bikes. And so,
to actually race it.
They actually race it, and I bugged my dad to race, from the start.
Yeah.
And, it was just interesting, right? I just go hang out at the shop, or always had an interest. Always loved riding them.
Yeah.
Always had an interest. All these great motorcycle racers were coming through the team. Like you had you had Thomas Stevens, who was the Superbike champion. You had Scott Russell. You had Kevin.
Yeah. Wow.
Like Schwantz never came to the team, but we had he rode our endurance bike the day before his Yoshimura tryout.
Wow.
Through
Wow.
my dad helped get that sorted out, and so in my car, man, so many really good racers, right? And so you're just like constantly seeing these guys that are
Yeah,
doing awesome things
just
on the
soaking
track,
it in. Yeah, yeah.
and it was normal life for me, but I like bikes.
That's
it's
that's
kind of like we all,
yeah.
And I just had the way I started racing was I was my mom was pretty resistant to racing because obviously
Really?
a long history in racing,
Yeah.
and the 80s and 80s were particularly difficult, in terms of, Bruce's injury. And then we had another rider named Wes Paul, unfortunately lose his life in 1988. And, those are all people that were personally connected, very, very well personally connected to us. And, and plus other riders and bad things can happen, obviously. So she didn't necessarily want her kid doing that.
Right.
And, I ended up getting in trouble at school, getting in trouble in the neighborhood. My dad used racing as a carrot to get me to stop being an idiot. And I turned my schoolwork around pretty quick and behavior. And then I had a pretty inauspicious start. Right, I crashed like 3 corners into my first race.
Oh my gosh.
Wasn't very good, and then just through determination and hard work, I got better and better and better, and started winning. And as the experience came, so then 23 years later, finished racing superbikes. That's
a long like career for any sport, let alone let alone motorsports, right? And I think even particularly for motorsports, we probably have a shorter shelf life than some other sports, right? So that's pretty incredible.
With modern medicine, I think it's gotten a lot better. Surgery, the way we treat injuries now, surgeries, technology, and you've been able to extend your career. Like this just the stuff we know about how to deal with injuries now compared to how to deal with injuries back in the 90s, or even safety gear, right? You look at man, the first suit I owned was in the 90s, and that was way better than the stuff my dad raced in.
Right.
And even the helmet technology, everything's getting better. So airbags.
Yeah.
You got some companies now. I mean, I think Alpine Stars is coming out with an airbag commercially available that goes down through your hips, like GP stuff. So, you got InnoMotion's airbag through RST and Farragon, and then you got the D-Air stuff. So, like, man, there's a lot of really great, really great safety innovations that have come down the pipeline recently, in the last 5-10 years that are going to improve that stuff too in terms of injuries. But yeah, I got some wear and tear, but it's all good.
That's awesome.
When I started racing, right, we talked about, before we got going, we talked about a little bit about the changes coming for rules and the planet of racing and stuff. Like when I started racing, there was no expectation. It was just like, dude, get your act together.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Right. I don't care. I have plan B. My dad was in the business, right? He's former professional, journalism, team owner, business owner. And it was like, you got to have plan B, because you're going to have more. The best advice, right, was you're going to have in racing, you're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to probably have more bad days than good.
Yeah.
Depending. I mean, if you got the super talented and have a lot of good days, but generally, right, there's only one winner.
Yeah.
And and how you recover from those. So I just prepared myself from that. Remember that was the talk on the way to the track the first day.
Yeah.
And that, to this day, that's still very relevant advice, and something that I give the younger riders, advice I give the younger riders that are trying to do this stuff. So anyway, that's a long way to say that I was kind of born into it. Born into it, but not quite. Born into it with no expectation. Yeah. And just took a liking to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think though, like, I guess to wrap this point up, but like, I think it's still, you still have to do it yourself, right? It wasn't like the bike's not gonna ride itself. It's not gonna pull itself up when it crashes, right? Like you have to have the grit and the determination to stick with it, right? And I think that's really, really awesome. And whenever I meet like an athlete, regardless of sport, that's kind of stuck with it for a long time, like I think for me, I have a tremendous amount of respect for that. And it's really awesome to see. And what I love to see is kind of the evolution of that human as they go through that sport, right? And it's also like I'm no longer just an athlete. I can also be a contributor to the sport as well. Like so,
Yeah.
so like I'd love to talk about where you are now with motorcycling, right? So you're doing both the Team Hammer operation stuff as well as the Road Racing World, which is the cap that you're wearing.
Yeah.
So could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so 2016, I stopped racing and went full time. I was always doing motojournalism. So motojournalism.
Oh, okay. Even when you were racing, you were still doing. That's
Yeah,
right. That's right. You
when
were
I was
still.
when
Yeah.
I was racing. So I started my column when I was my first time I was published was I was 15, and I went and rode a RS 125 at the Weird Grand National Final.
That's so cool.
And as part of getting the opportunity to ride the 125
Yeah.
for it was Motor Liberty at the time. They
Yeah.
had a race team. So Motor Liberty's that shop in Dallas, right? So
Yeah,
Audrey and those guys, but they had a race team at the time.
Yeah.
And they had pretty ripping two strokes and stuff like that. And so I got to ride this 1995 RS 125, which was the go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
That's so cool.
at the GNF, I didn't get to do the national stuff because I was too young.
Okay.
But, 15, so I mean,
Jeez.
freshman year in high school or something like that.
What were you doing at 15? Not that.
Yeah. But
Not
anyway,
that.
I got the opportunity, right? And part of the gig was, dude, you get to go do this, but you got to write about your experience.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Wait. Do you still have that original article?
Yeah, we can dig it
Yeah,
up.
I'll put a link to that. That's so like.
No, I mean we got to go dig it up probably.
Yeah, yeah. That's so awesome.
Through the print, but
Yeah. Take a photo of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first time I was published, and then we looked at that and said, okay, well, maybe we can get, if we do a monthly column type with technical stuff and just adventures, maybe we can get some support. So we ended up Yamaha. I was coming out the TZ 125 at the time, and I was scheduled to go racing the next year, and we were already doing a project on the TZ 125.
Yeah.
Anyway, with another rider.
Yeah.
And we did some stuff with TZ 250s with a few different riders, and so just tech stuff and pretty interesting things because I mean the Road Racing World and Motorcycle Technology, it's a magazine. So just turned that into a column. It was pretty. I mean, I can go back and read my early columns, and 42-year-old Chris looks at 16-year-old Chris in a pretty cringy way. But,
As a writer, yeah.
Yeah, and but it's the evolution, right? The maturity and all that stuff, and the viewpoint. So so that column turned into, as I got older, right? That whole column turned into, okay, look, you can write pretty well. Okay, go ride. I think the first time I wrote a Chuck Graves built R6 that was like a Superbike R6. And I wrote about that, and then the next thing was the R6 press launch, like we talked about.
Right.
Then GSXR, a few Buell launch in 01.
Yeah.
CBR 600 F4.
Yeah.
That was one that I did.
Whoa.
And so, you kind of look back at the covers.
Yeah.
And, the speed was good. I could, doing the motojournalism thing too, it helped me like in my racing because I had to think about what the bike was doing.
I see.
So then when I got to go race, it was like, well, hey, I had this experience on this thing. And I had this experience on this thing. It's still true to this day, right? Because now the racing stuff, through my racing experience, like we built this ride-by-wire CBR 1000 Superbike, and I had to go through and develop a bunch of stuff for that thing. And then, carried it on to the GSXR. And through that experience working with those kind of electronics, it's like, okay, now it was years before. I mean, electronics were really getting going on road bikes at that point. But now through that experience, I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on, and how the road bike stuff works, how it's supposed to work, what's the best way it's supposed to go. And then more recently, kind of through this Superbike project, understanding better swing arm design. So that's
wow.
That's and you learn about linkages and all sorts of cool technical stuff when you're racing and how they work, and so the racing stuff has helped me along the lines of the journalism stuff, and the journalism stuff has helped me along the lines of the racing stuff, so I can understand it and communicate it better. And so
Yeah.
it was kind of went hand in hand,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
and
not only that, you're also a coach now as well.
yeah,
So
yeah, I'm a USMCA, USMCA certified coach, and I've been on the board for. So you talk about all the stuff we do, right? So
yeah.
I guess the big way is that you kind of scattered around everything, but the best way you're gonna leave the place better than it was, right? You
Mhm.
leave the industry better than it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
through the safety trials and tribulations that we used to have, my dad was a pretty big safety advocate for racing. Obviously, growing up in the '80s,
Right.
or racing in the '80s, and seeing the evolution of tracks and stuff like that. I mean, now we're so lucky these days because now we go to racetracks and they actually have runoff,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if they don't have runoff, we clearly identify that that's unacceptable for
Right.
motorcycles. We're not going to do that.
Right.
And then we have other options.
Right.
Well, back then there wasn't. There were no options. Every place was lined with Armco.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gotten quite a bit. The stance for safety has gotten quite a bit better. Well, in 2001, there's still some gaps, and a new product were coming out in terms of like the stuff called air fence.
Yeah.
And he was generally sick of what the AMA racing series at the time was doing with that, and said, "Okay, look, I'm gonna do my own. I'm gonna get air fence, and I'm gonna deploy it at these races because not only like I was racing, but like as the team was racing, his friends' kids were racing.
That's incredible. That's an initiative.
Yeah, and he just said he wrote an editorial on roadracingworld.com.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he put up his own money to buy the first section.
Wow.
And the next thing you know, we had contributions from Yamaha, Suzuki,
Yeah.
generally around the industry.
Yeah.
And we had 25 sections deployed in 3 months or something like that at Road Atlanta.
Wow.
You talk about good karma. The first guy to hit it was Grant Lopez in the last corner at Road Atlanta, which before they changed the last corner.
Okay.
So that used to be a flat out fourth gear,
Yeah.
pretty gnarly corner with not very much runoff. The first guy to hit it was Grant Lopez, and he happened to be riding a Team Hammer bike. So
That is
got
good
up,
karma.
dislocated his shoulder,
Yeah.
but lived the race another day. I mean,
Yeah.
Man, I don't want to get too negative on it, but man, there's nothing more gnarly. I mean, I watched Lopez in '99 hit a wall at Phoenix when he was riding. He was riding for my father's team, and I was riding my 250, so I wasn't really connected with the team. But watched him hit a wall, and we were traveling the country together at the time.
Yeah.
Hanging out, training together, and it's like nothing more gnarly watching your buddy get flown out.
Oh my gosh.
And, when you're sitting on the grid. And
Yeah, that is scary.
And even from my father's viewpoint, right? This guy's riding for him. His mom and his sister are there, and he has to explain to him what's going on. And
Yeah.
he's gonna, so he just got sick of it and took the bull by the horns. And so now we've raised close to $2 million for the deployment of air fence, and it's a 501c3 nonprofit, the Roadracing World Action Fund, and it's not a typical nonprofit where you have an administrator that takes money or whatever. It's like we take the bare minimum of administrative fees so we can make sure that the most amount of money goes to the deployment of air fence.
Right.
And so now we're responsible for all the air fence deployment at Moto America races.
Oh wow.
ASRA, CCS, N2 has done a great job.
Yep.
With that. Blackhawk Farms. So fast track riders in Southern California. There's so many. CMRA has some air fence.
Yeah.
And that took off really big.
Yeah.
I can't remember the year, but it was when Ryan Smith passed away at Texas Roll. And so big improvements. Big improvements, right? You look at stuff, and so now I think Moto America's got close to 100 sections now. But
wow. Are they permanent fixtures for those?
No,
you can deploy them.
Yeah, deploy them. So they're blow up barriers, right?
Right.
Now the latest thing is we just recently got $100,000 donation from president of Medallia.
I used to work for Medallia.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. So
rad.
they sponsored the
See?
Laguna Seca round,
Yeah,
Les. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
so
So
yeah.
I gave Les the 2-seat ride at Laguna.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I was that's like literally my first job out of college with Medallia. So
Yeah,
I was with them for a couple years. Yeah,
they're great. You know,
that's
they just
fantastic.
recently big donation there.
That's fantastic.
I think Wayne Rainey had a lot to do with that.
Yeah,
And so what we're doing with that, you know, that's it's going to be somewhere around 15 new sections of Alpina, which is the
yeah,
self inflatable.
yeah, yeah.
And then we'll take whatever we retire in terms of there's two brands. There's Air Fence brand, and then there's Alpina brand, and
Mm.
we'll take whatever we have from those two, and we'll distribute it. Like AMA headquarters has a bunch of it that they deploy for like AMA vintage motorcycle days,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and we use that as a reserve. And so a lot of times too, like when a world championship race would come here,
Hmm.
we would gather up all the air fence that we have in
Right,
the U.S. and
right,
then we would go and work on the deployment over there. And so
right,
that's, I mean, the organization is responsible for the cost of the deployment,
right,
but then you know the Action Fund owns it
right,
and gets it here and supplies it and tracks it and all that
right.
stuff. So look, it's been a big help, you know. And it took me. You just look at the stories, right? You look at Kyle Wyman going off in turn one over 100, backing himself into the air
Just
fence
gnarly,
and
gnarly. Yeah,
getting up and walking away. He
yeah,
did
yeah,
have a little bit of a fracture on his back, but like
yeah,
he was alive
yeah.
and
That's a big improvement.
walking around. Like the same thing. It took me from the start of it, right? 2001. So I've personally raised, I think just shy of 160K, you know,
Yeah,
through my activities, which is two seat rides. And so
yeah,
we'd annually do a 2-seat ride fundraiser. And then this year, you know, more recently we've been doing stuff in Moto America races. I mean, this year I raised just
yeah,
close to $13,000 with the 2-seat ride
yeah.
donations at Moto America races.
Wow, wow, wow.
So we, you know, that's where a fan can buy a ticket or buy a direct, you
Yeah,
know, get a direct,
you're still
make
giving
a
these
direct
rides out.
donation. Yeah,
Okay,
and
all right, we're gonna get Judy on a 2-seat ride with you.
yep,
Yeah,
it's going to be good.
she's gonna.
So they can make a direct donation,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
ride. You know, we do all 3 days at
yeah.
lunchtime or after the day's finished, and
Okay,
any fan can come up and donate and go for a ride. We got all the gear and all that stuff, and so
awesome.
for that program, we've raised I think it was like 13.5
Yeah,
this
awesome,
year,
awesome.
and then on top of that, the knock on effect of like getting people excited about doing it was a lot more. So anyway, I mean, it took me a long time to actually hit air fence when I was racing. It took
Yeah,
me from 01 to 14, and I hit it face first at turn one at Barber 2
yeah,
and got up,
yeah,
walked away, and raced the next day. So, I mean, that stuff has been critical
yeah,
for improving rider safety and track safety around the country. And, you know, it's going to be in the industry, it's going to be my father's legacy,
yeah. I think
besides
that's
all the other great stuff that he did.
yeah, yeah. But that's a wonderful
But,
legacy, though.
yeah,
It protects riders and generations of riders. It's
it,
awesome.
it's yeah, it's just not protecting racers. It's protecting track day guys.
Exactly.
It's protecting the entire community.
The
And then
community, yeah. That's
beyond
wonderful.
that, on the volunteerism stuff,
Yeah.
you know, I got involved with the United States Motorcycle Coaching Association in 2016,
Hmm.
and the goal is to create a network of excellent coaches,
Yep.
and just raise the level of coaching, create a
Yeah, yeah.
certification, you know, an industry wide certification to raise the level. Right, we're still
Yeah.
at, you know, we just hit the landmark of 300 certified coaches between dirt and road, and
Wow. Yeah.
you know that's been a labor of love. I love it. You know, I love
Yeah.
coaching. I feel like there's a definite need on the motocross side for sure. There's a big need for certification. On
Yeah.
the road side, we're a bit more established in terms of you got Champ School's a USMCA certified school.
Right.
The Superbike School is the codes. You know, the code family has done a great job there,
Yep.
and you know, I think it's the way I look at it for that. It's a big opportunity to raise the level of coaching for track day organizations and
Yeah.
legitimize their coaching and get some certification.
Yep.
Take uh, guys from being control riders to being coaches and have
Right.
that coaching
That's
mindset.
yeah. That's a completely different skill set. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Cool. So, can you elaborate more on like what does it mean to be a USMAC certified coach? Like, what is that?
So
You know. Yeah. Please explain.
yeah, you USMCA certified coach. So it's you know, right now we're doing certifications for level 1, and it's you know, the structure is going to be based is based off somewhat of like skiing. So you have level 1, 2, 3, 4,
Hmm.
and level 1 is you know, you need to get yourself, be able to get a rider from they enter the track, you know, so get them to the racetrack and get them through graduation,
Hmm.
of level 1 of a track day. So whether that's level C1,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever they
The
call it,
the
right?
novice group essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the novice group. And so that's the goal. That's the skill set you have to have. And that's man, that those guys could be some of the hardest guys to coach, actually,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
a lot of them are coming off the canyons, or coming off the street, and they don't know, that it's a bad idea to add lean angle as you're adding
Throttle.
gas,
Yeah,
or they
yeah,
don't know how the actual shape of a corner, or what the mechanics are of what you're supposed to do to get around a corner, right? You
right,
brake to this point, then you accelerate,
right.
after you've turned the thing. So, or you slow down to this point, then you accelerate after you turn the thing. A lot of them don't have that idea,
Yeah,
so they get to the track and they overslow, and then they speeding up as they're at, anyway, on the technical side of that. But that's the skill set you have to have. And it goes from, look, check your ego, to
yep,
let's educate.
yep,
That's the big thing. Let's educate, because I mean, the education part is going to be the way to true growth in the industry, right? Or not true growth and retention.
yeah,
So retention is the big thing, right? And
yeah,
so the more recently, we've added some programs, for guys that aren't necessary, or for riders, not guys, because guys and gals and everybody, for riders that are not necessarily ready to go on the track. And
yeah,
that's some cone work and some other stuff. And actually, you talk about, we're looking at your KTM, but KTM North America has embraced that. And there's been tons of, we developed it out at California Speedway with Auto Club Speedway with fast track riders,
yeah.
and a lot of people from the KTM group, a lot of employees have come out and gone through the program.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then some of them have graduated to actually getting on the racetrack. And what it does is, that particular drill set of, it's all parking lot pad, we call it pad work. It's all pad work, but it takes the focus away, or allows the rider to develop their skills, right? Their motion, the motor controls and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And understand how to use the brake going through the corner, how to shift the bike, accelerate, and all that other stuff that you don't necessarily get from a basic rider course, and really practice that stuff at a higher level. And I mean, we're working on eye movement. We're going to talk about vision here
Yeah.
in a minute. We're
Yeah.
working on eye movement when they're doing that, because a lot of times they're staring at the front wheel.
Yep.
It allows them to build that skill set.
Yep.
And work on it. And once they have that skill set, they can kind of go, okay, well, look, man, I'm confident with the brake. I'm confident with the clutch. I'm confident with all these other things that are going on. Now they've expanded everything, and their bandwidth's open, so they can go off and ride in the street, and they're not flipping out about, or not worried about, okay, I'm doing the brake and doing the clutch right. No, they got that dialed.
Right.
Now they're just making sure they're not going to, get in any trouble with a car,
Right.
or whatever the situation is.
Right.
So that was the big takeaway when we started doing that experiment.
Yeah.
And I've taken everyone from 13-year-old kids through that course on a Duke 200 to 47-year-old males that came to riding it really, really late in life. And like the hardest ones to coach are probably the guys the riders that come to riding late in life, because or later in life, because it's a bit unnatural. Like kids, man, kids can do anything.
Yeah. They just soak it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
But
So it's not just for track riders. It's also for street riders as well. Just rider improvements in general.
Yeah. The certification is for closed course riding, but
Close course. Yeah.
if you're advantageous, right? We're not talking about what the big thing is how you coach, not what you coach.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. It's a bad way to put it. It is what you coach. But, excuse me. It's how you coach, right? We're not in the curriculum business in terms of that goes. It's
right.
It's your mindset, your attitude towards coaching, what you're doing, in terms of that stuff. And like, look, you got a bad attitude as a coach, man. It's going to affect negatively on the whole industry. We want retention, in terms of rider retention and through education. And I mean, heck, I've volunteered for those guys, I guess, 2021, so 16 to 21. So it's 5 years. So we've been working on it for 5 years now with a great group of industry professionals. And I'm really proud of the progress we've made on both sides.
Yeah, that's awesome. so talking about coaching, so one of the reasons I was so motivated to talk to you and to get you on the channel was to talk about the coaching that you talked with me about in Spain. So when we met in Jerez, when I was riding around, it was my first time there. But I'm also, not this pro AMA racer that you are, and you have this extensive skill and background. But I love how you just offered advice and you offered encouragement, and I super appreciate that. So thank you. But we talked a lot about vision and
Yeah.
about how you use your eyes for the track. And I know that a lot of our viewers here, are all different levels of track day riding and even racing. But I think that's again, it's like a universal skill that you constantly develop. So let's talk more about that.
Yeah, so you talk about the vision stuff, right? And in terms of the coaching, right? The coaching's it's a mindset. It's
Yeah.
hard to it's even now, right? I have with the team, you got guys like Bobby Fong and Cam Peterson riding for us, and Sean Dillon Kelly,
Yeah.
and Sean Dillon Kelly's a 2021 Supersport champ, and
Yep.
and he's going to Moto2,
Moto 2, yeah.
right? And then Sam Lockoff, Wyatt Ferris, and of that group, right? We still talk about this type of stuff,
Wow. Wow.
and where they're looking, what they're doing, to a lesser extent, right? Because those guys are switched on, and they're really fast, really great riders.
Yep.
But it's super important because your eyes are the window of the world.
Right.
But it's where your eyes are depends on how fast everything's going, right? What's your perception of speed? And so if you are staring at say staring at the front wheel, which looking down, have your eyes down, the scenery is going to be going by really, really fast.
Right.
If you pick your eyes up and start looking ahead, everything's going to slow down. And when everything slows down, you have more bandwidth to be able to work on stuff. It's okay. It's slower. Okay. You start being able to go faster because your perception of the speed is slower. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, it gets exacerbated the faster the motorcycle you have.
Right.
But it's, that's the big reason. And so like guys, it became really important. I mean, it's always been important to me, right? Because I'm racing and you know how far ahead to look. And when you're really switched on, it's just an automatic deal.
Yeah.
When you're riding a lot, you're racing a lot. But now, I'm a bit more of a desk jockey,
Yeah.
as most guys are that do track days and or maybe not desk jockeys. They got a job, right? They got
Yeah.
other stuff. They're not always thinking about motorcycles, always riding a lot. And, so the vision part becomes more and more important. And always it's session one. It's lap one, session one. You can get off the couch or do two-seaters all the time. And like the two-seater deal is you got to be switched on from
Right.
lap one with those guys, with the passengers. And I just work on it, just
Yeah.
go out. Okay, great. I'm going to, maybe the first corner is a little messy, but then the rest of it. Okay. Hey, look,
Yeah.
okay. So, in your case, it was, you're learning a new track. And like I said, it's pretty hard not to help coach. And like you even
I love
look
that. I love that impulse you have. That's awesome. Yeah.
You even look at Pedrosa, right? When we were sitting there, I mean, what a great experience too, on that. Cause you look at what, you work on Pedrosa a little bit on your body position and when to start your body position and when to move the butt over. And the stuff that he was saying was spot on, communicated really well. It was like, how many people on the planet have been able to get coached by Danny?
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome. And I'm just watching him the whole court with all those guys going, wow, that's great. But going back to what we were working on, the eye thing, it's so important. So like you say, to put it in reference, right? Jerez, you have the last corner, which is a pretty easy place to work on this.
Yeah.
A bit of a late apex, and you got to rotate your head and pick your eyes up to spot the exit. And then you got to look down the straightaway to the start finish line. But then the first corner comes up pretty quick after.
It does. Yes, it does.
And so as you're exiting the last corner, right, you already got to have, by the time you get to the end of the curve, you got to spot the start finish line.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you spot that, you got to start throwing your eyes up to where the braking marker is. Yeah. And then, obviously once you get to there, you got to start looking where your turning point is and then your apex and everything else. And I'd say you're even a little bit late, in terms of what we're going to talk about on the stars is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But like 1's the brake marker, 2's your turning point, 3's your apex, 4 is your first exit point, 5
Yeah.
is your second exit point.
Yeah.
So your eyes need to be going and connecting the dot to each one of those, before you get to the peripheral vision, before the break marker, the marker goes by in your peripheral vision.
Right. Right.
Which is hard to practice.
Yeah.
Because everything's coming up so fast.
Yeah.
And so it's just, but
are there functional drills that you can do off the bike to work on these things, or do you kind of just pick a turn and just work on them whenever you get a chance to ride?
For me, I'm not that sophisticated, I guess. But I just pick a turn. I mean, you do have some pretty good peripheral vision, right? When you're doing that, you gotta. I definitely recommend too getting your eyes tested quite often.
Right. Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, at the 42, I need readers, in terms of working on my computer, but I'm still good for the distance. And you look at some riders, right, and talk about how important that is.
Yeah.
Ashton Yates. Ashton Yates was, going pretty good, then kind of lost his way, and then got glasses, and then all of a sudden back ripping again. And then same thing happened to Jamie Hacking and a few other guys. I mean, there's some vision and some focus stuff you can do as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But generally, this is something that helps with practice, even on a mini bike or your bicycle, whatever you're doing. A lot of guys like you. I mean, heck, I was an avid road cyclist and stuff like that. And even you get in the group packs and those guys are staring at the front wheel instead of looking where they need to look. And then all of a sudden you got a pile up. So it's a pretty common deal. Even driving your car, right? And then you can, I guess you could practice at driving your car because you can be looking ahead and see what's going on in traffic instead of staring.
Just actively
working on your eyes.
Yeah. All right. And just ingrain that as a thing that you do. Yeah. No matter what. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Are there other like, I guess, is there gonna, I don't want this to whole be like a coaching session, that's not the point of this conversation, but like, is there hopefully in the future we can do that as well, but is there another skill or framework that you really encourage, like advanced track day riders or just anyone really that's riding on track close course to focus on aside from the vision piece?
Well, I think that the another big thing is being in the moment. I'm a big fan of that too, because it's like, man, like, even we'll just take it back to my own experience, because that's what you have to build on when you're starting your coaching. Or doing coaching is like, man, I have a lot of stuff going on at the racetrack. I got a lot of stuff going on and generally with work and life. And like, when you get to the racetrack, you're going to do a sport that has some risks. And so look, man, it's cool. Okay, maybe you're taking a day off from work or whatever. You got something going on. Okay, look, man, you give yourself whatever it takes you to get yourself in the zone, right? And this is something that I mean, the Champ School guys are pretty big on this, and a few other coaches are big on this, and it really resonates with me. Because you look at it and it's like, look, give yourself the permission to be here today, right now.
Wow, yeah.
Okay, before you get on your motorcycle and go really fast. And so whatever it is, like for me, I just close my shield, I'm ready to go. Because even when I was racing, like I had a pretty decent year in 2014 on the super bike, and I was running the team, so it was a really difficult year. And I would get myself up in the lounge, I'd sit there, 30 minutes before, 40 minutes before. I just go through my little process of putting my gear on, and by the time I got done with the process, I was ready to race my motorcycle. That was it. And now, like learning through all that stuff, I can just go, okay, look, I'm ready to ride. I got my gear on, my helmet's on, I'm ready to ride. Okay, if I'm not ready to ride, I'm going to sit there for a second, go chill out. All right, now I'm ready to ride. If I'm not, I'm out. I went out to.
Don't force it. Don't force it.
Don't force it at all, because if it's, you don't have to do every session, man. It's like you do quality over quantity, because it's if you get tired or whatever, you're just making mistakes, or okay, great, you can do 1 lap perfect, that's cool. If you do 5 laps perfect, it's cool. If you can do the best you can, and like, it's fine. You go to a track day, you're gonna have 6, 7, 8 opportunities to ride on those track days, and if it's 1,000,000 degrees out or whatever, man. You can miss that 15 minutes. Eat your lunch, drink your Pedialyte, chill out.
I mean,
don't be in a rush.
I just love that you said you talk about this, like it's wonderful that you bring it up, because like yeah, like we have so much to balance in our daily lives. We're not pro racers. This is not our job. We're not being paid to do it. But you want to just tune out all the noise so you can just enjoy the moment and just be there with your bike, which I love that.
Enjoy it because like too, yeah, the number one responsibility for me, so as a coach, right? So
Yeah.
we have, if I'm coaching a kid like Supersport rider like Jarrett Nassani,
Hmm.
trying to help him go faster, or helping my own guys go faster, or something like that.
Yeah.
It that's one thing,
Yeah.
right? Well, if I'm coaching, a professional, a busy professional that's
Hmm.
coming in to ride his track day and enjoy his day,
Yeah.
the mindset's different. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not as rigid with those guys. I'm rigid in terms of what we're going to work on and making sure they're doing the skills, because it's my responsibility to guide them through that day,
Yeah.
safely.
Yep.
But the goal is to make sure that individual, whoever it is, gets through the day, enjoys their day, learns some stuff, and
Right.
goes out of there a safer rider. And so
Right.
then they can come back and enjoy their motorcycle again,
Retention.
whether I'm coaching
Yeah.
them or not,
Yeah. Yeah.
or somebody else is coaching them. The goal is to build riders that are safer,
Yeah.
so they have a longer motorcycling life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's take a quick pivot now to a bit of where racing is today, because you brought up that you're coaching some active racers right now in Supersport. So I think that you probably have a lot of opinions on where road racing is in
Yeah,
America. The gaps between us and Europe or other countries. Let's talk about that. Is that cool?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No problem. So racing's on the upswing, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah.
Um, but generally, like, look, obviously 2014, the series, end of 2014, the series was sold to Moto America and the Crave Group. The Crave Group and created Moto America.
Hmm.
So, the big thing that they did, the big transition that Moto America did was invest in doing their own TV production, and
Mm,
they allowed them to control their own destiny. And then COVID hit,
yeah.
and what that did for the series was allowed, they're the first ones back, and it gave them an opportunity to put it on FS1,
Yeah.
and so they earned their spot on FS1
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
through 2021. And so all of a sudden it went from, the transition from 19 to 20, right? So we're going to talk about, a few different things, right? When you need sponsorship to go racing, right? We're not, our program's built on a model of self-sponsorship,
Right.
go racing.
Right.
Okay, that's it. OEM sponsorship, whatever it is, it's self-sponsorship, go racing. We raise the money.
Hmm.
We work really hard to have those, foster those relationships, and have, long term. Like, you look at the side of the motorcycle and you don't see a lot of changeover, because we've worked very,
Right.
very hard to
Keep those relationships.
to keep those relationships and have those going. So,
Absolutely.
um, so we'll go back in time a little bit, right? So in 2009 to 2014, right, we had some pretty significant, non-endemic sponsorship, whether it was National Guard, which wasn't us, that was the Jordan program,
Right.
or it was, Geico Motorcycle, which was our program.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa.
So then we had an era of where racing was more or less essentially, supported by OEMs
Yeah.
and private guys. So,
Yeah.
the 2019, right? All of a sudden, we're, at 19, we were on Fox. Also, the Superbike stuff was on Fox, and they had another show, on that, because we got rid of the BN thing. They took over the production in 19,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, the winter between 19 and 20, you start talking to some non-endemics, and all of a sudden they're calling you back, because the 5 years before that, it was like, I knew the people at the companies, and they're
Yeah.
like, dude, we can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
There's
know, we can't do it.
the appetite wasn't there.
No.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you got, hey, we're interested. Huh.
Yeah.
We're interested at this level, which is significantly less than it was in 2012 or
Right.
2014,
Right.
but like, okay, we have interest.
Yeah.
Good start. Then COVID hits, right? And then we're on FS1. So then the transition between 21 and 22, or excuse me, 2020, why is more interest, right?
Yeah.
Granted, you got the problem of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Which is some uncertainty centered around live events.
Sure.
Now we got the vaccine rolling out and everything's kind of, depending on the, not to go too political, depending on the color of your state, right? It's,
Sure.
um, but
You're able to host the events. Actually,
yes,
have
able
the
to host
events.
events
Yeah. Yeah.
host events and have real fans, right? Because
Right.
when 20, I mean, you look at Washington, we had no fans in 20. Laguna, we had no
Yeah.
fans in 20, right? Whereas
Yeah.
Road America 1 was no fans, but Road America 2 was huge.
Right.
And like I said, it just depend on what the situation was in the state.
Right.
Anyway, but we were on FS1,
Yeah. But now
right?
you feel like all these
And
things we are on an
yeah,
upswing for road racing in
yeah,
America,
yeah.
which is
So
cool.
all those factors
Yeah.
led to, okay, look, now
Yeah.
we have non-endemic sponsors that are going like, I'm very interested in this
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
on this channel. It's
Yeah.
on this channel. It's
Yeah.
on this channel. Okay, great. So then we also have, rapid growth in terms of fan engagement. We have, the series
Social
is doing
media
a good job of
campaigns.
social
Yeah.
media
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? So, and some companies really love the social media stuff. Some companies are like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want households. How many
Right.
households you got? So it's really interesting because a lot of people were like, oh man, social media is the next big thing. Get zillions of followers. Then all of a sudden it's like, you kind of get yourself into these places, and I'm like, well, what do you think about the social media stuff? It's like, nah,
Yeah.
we want TV
So it
viewers.
just really depends on
Okay.
who that
Yeah,
endemic
depends on the
sponsor is.
company and what
Yeah.
they're trying to do,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
they're trying to activate,
Right. Right. That makes sense.
And so, so 20, we had some non-endemic stuff. Like you look at Kyle Wyman had Panera,
Yeah. Yeah. His Ducati.
Panera franchisee,
Yep.
and a few other stuff. And then you had Fresh and Lean
Yep.
on a tax
Heron.
bike,
Yep.
and through Heron, and so the Fresh and Lean thing. There's definitely some connection to motorcycling because the president there is an avid motorcyclist, pretty quick too.
Right.
Um, the Panera stuff, definitely a fan, but
Yeah.
wants some return. So we have two companies right there that are generally non-endemics.
Yeah.
You're going to see a few more for 22.
That's exciting.
We'll have an announcement pretty soon for us about a non-endemic
Yeah.
coming on board for our program. And that's the transition. That's when you have good investment from the series and everything else. And really, at the end of the day, right, when you have a reduction in OEM spending, what you need is investment from non-endemics and the series, and being able to then stop having to rely on OEMs to
Right.
be able to fund the racing,
Right.
and have the package, which is the end goal, which is in MotoGP and stuff like that. You do have a lot of sponsorship. A lot of that stuff is still funded by the OEM.
Yep.
But some was funded by the series, right, in terms of the independent teams. But the big thing is you got to have the TV, you got to have the reach, you got to have what you need to
Yeah.
be able to attract the sponsors.
Yeah.
And right now, where Moto America's at is if you have a successful team,
Mhm.
a winning team, you can produce the level of exposure that you need.
Yeah.
To be able to attract an outside industry, non-endemic sponsor. That being said, there still needs support from OEMs and all that stuff. So
Right.
generally, look, we're on the upswing.
Yeah.
I got probably a little bit too far in the business side of things.
No,
but,
this is fascinating. Like this is stuff
Yeah.
that like who would talk to us,
Yeah.
like these we're the spectators, right? We're the viewers of the sport. This
Yeah.
is such a fascinating insider account on this stuff. So like what is the I guess one of my questions I had for you was, what is the best way that a spectator, a track day enthusiast, someone that just loves motorcycles, what's the best way for them to support road racing in America?
Stop bitching about it online. No, come on.
That's going in the
Sorry.
video. That's going in the video. Unedited, unfiltered.
No. Look, I mean, man, we have such a passionate base, right?
Yeah.
Motorcyclists are so.
Yeah.
We're a gnarly. You guys are a gnarly group. We're all a gnarly group.
Yeah.
So passionate, right? So just show up. Tune in or show up, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And I think a lot of things. I don't want to go too far on the negative side. The era of this or era of that or what, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah,
you
blah.
get.
Look, man,
Yeah.
I lived that era, right? Too.
Yeah, you lived it.
Okay.
You were
I
there.
lived it.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, I'm living this era too, and it's pretty awesome. Stuff isn't as great as it used to be in terms of the OEM investment or this or that. But like, look, the racing generally is pretty good. I mean, the superbike stuff, yeah, the racing could be a little bit better. I mean, Gagne kicked everybody's ass last year. But I guess the race for second was good.
Yeah.
The Supersport stuff was super exciting.
Dude, the race, the Ridge race was amazing for Supersport.
Yeah, the Supersport stuff was super exciting.
Yeah.
The Junior Cup stuff's been exciting. Even the twins and the Superstock guys.
Yeah.
Those guys are all pretty hungry. I mean, the twin stuff's always interesting, right?
Yeah.
But Supersport has been pretty gnarly. I mean, Superbikes, man, those things are so. Those things are weapons, right?
Yeah.
And so, Gagne switched on. I think we're going to see some more competition come in next year. I'm hoping, it was funny actually, because if you're going to talk about racing, right? You never know what's going to happen in racing, because I guess Lawrence Bonds was supposed to kick everybody's ass last year and he didn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's the way it goes.
Yep.
You never know until you line up.
Yep.
But it's going to be intense, The big thing is though, look, yeah, if you want it to come back, so show up at a race, take, find your local race, whatever, show up and check it out, see it with your own eyes. Don't sit on the couch and just go, okay, blah, blah, blah. It's not as great.
Comment on Facebook.
Come on, man, just show up.
Actually go to the event. Yeah.
See it, see what's going on, see how hard we're all working to continue this sport and continue what's going on.
Yeah.
And then tune in. Tune in. They got Motor America's doing a good job in terms of they got the Live Plus app, and then they just they launched Moto America TV.
Yeah.
So now they're airing all old races on Moto America TV.
Yeah.
They're going to be on Fox Networks. They're at Supersport on MAV TV, and they're investing in doing what they need to do to grow the sport, and they're doing a pretty darn good job at it.
Yeah.
And what they've provided to teams and they've provided to riders, right, is a stable series that has a stable TV package, a stable production package, and then additionally, they're promoting the race in such a way that we have stable and steady growth in terms of on-site spectators. And so they've done a good job of all that stuff, right? Yeah, is motorcycle racing perfect? No.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever perfect.
Right.
But they've embraced the safety stuff. They're working hard to do what they need to do and run a successful business, and they have the rights to it till 2029. They're chugging away, and you can just see that. We see it, right? We've seen it from the low to the high, right? Because we've been in it for so long, right? We transitioned from endurance racing to AMA racing in 1998, 99, and we've seen the peak and we've seen the valleys. And right now, in terms of the leadership of the series, like I don't know, and nothing's perfect. I don't agree with everything they're doing, but hey, look, they're doing a good job generally, from safety to promotion to allowing you to function and run a business as a racing team,
right?
And work to grow that in terms of finding legitimate and real sponsors,
right?
So, and just like I'm telling you, the transition, and I've seen the transition because I'm the sales and marketing guy for Team Hammer.
Yeah. And
it's gone from, I'm not going to return your email to, hey, let's do some business.
That's awesome. That's wonderful to hear. Yeah. What do you sorry, so one of the questions I had to ask you was, because you're literally operating a team, how do you feel about and specifically in the Supersport class, how do you feel about the changes with the introduction of the V2 and the MV800, like that how does that affect you as a team?
I'll flat out tell you, I mean, we won the Supersport championship in 19 and 21. And I'd say that from my own viewpoint, my own selfish viewpoint, right, from protecting my business position, I'm a little bit bummed to see him come, because man, we got a ripping bike. It's a good package. Okay, but from the business standpoint of the series and globally of what's going on, right, we're seeing a reduction in that middleweight category in terms of participation from manufacturers. We're looking at different displacement models and stuff like that. So you have the Triumph 765, you have the V2. you have the MV800, you have 636,
Yep.
The R6 is still gonna race and continue. So what are we doing on the Suzuki side? Building 750s.
Oh,
So,
right. Yep.
I mean, that's, I wrote this in my column, so the cat's out of the bag. So we're in the middle of the homologation process. I've already built the ride-by-wire throttle bodies we need.
Wow.
And we'll be the sole supplier. Team L will be the sole supplier for those globally. And working on it. In parallel, we're developing the 600cc to the new rules too, not the new next gen allowance for Supersport to improve that in case there's any delay in terms of the homologation stuff.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a process, but whatever, man. You know, like, look, I already got teams in the UK calling me and teams in Finland, you know, trying to work with something to be able to put, you know, possibly put a GSXR 750 on the grid.
Yeah.
In the Supersport Championship or BSB. So
yeah,
like in terms of that stuff, man, it's great because you don't see those. You don't see a Suzuki on the grid. So we have good diversity. I'm definitely like, I think the FIM. I think everybody is definitely like looking at the balancing procedure and going like, oh man, I don't, you know, super nervous about that. But like, you have to fear of the unknown, right?
Yep.
You have to just look, this is globally good for the sport. On the optimistic side, hopefully we have some more OEM engagement and diversity. And I mean, you know, some of those bikes look pretty darn cool. How maybe we can get one of those 890s sitting back there.
Yeah. I think that actually for World Supersport is it's the rules are there, but I don't think Moto America allows for the 890, or does it?
I'm not. I think BSB they're going to do an experiment with it.
Yeah,
we have to look that up. We can double check.
Yeah,
I think BSB's kind of like the test bed, and then it's going to get dispersed.
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, man, that thing's. I mean, look at that thing. It's a sexy bike.
It is. Definitely. Yeah, so I guess like to kind of encapsulate your thoughts on road racing in America. 1, we're in an upswing. 2, for everyone that's watching, show up at a race event, or at least tune in for the race event, support the sport. I think that's what I'm going to try to do my best at with this year, is that I would love to actually attend the rounds, you know, actually participate, bring Judy along. Chris will give you a 2-up ride, right?
Yep.
That's the thing. Are you there for every round for that?
Yeah, we don't do them at COTA because Dorna controls the track.
Okay, but, of course, COTA.
All the standalones, so nine rounds.
Okay.
3 days and 9 rounds.
Awesome.
I'm working on adding a second bike with a former Moto2 racer. So.
Oh, very exciting. Very, very exciting. Yeah. Cool. Do you have any kind of final thoughts or comments that you want to share with people?
No, I mean, it's thanks for listening to me babble along and having me on the show. And like I said, you know, it's not something I normally do, but man, we had such that experience, right? I think probably appreciated it more than normal because it was just, man, the experience was like it was electric. Like the environment, like everyone was so pumped about it. And that was just also coming off of like a pretty stressful race season, recovering from COVID, all that other stuff. And it was just like, man, the bike was fun. The day was fun. The people were great. And it was just really enjoyed the part about, you know, just from the outside, you know, being, you know, it wasn't the normal motor journalism stuff. It was just, I'm just, you know, kind of flying the wall, riding a bike and seeing what everyone's doing. And, it's good connection, man, and love seeing Americans over in Spain. And
I think you represented. You were definitely the fastest non-MotoGP rider there. So you repped us really well. Thank you.
I was trying, man. I was having fun, and those guys. That bike was fun, and it was an enjoyable experience. So it was just pleasure to talk motorcycles with motorcycle people.
All right, guys, so whoever made it through the whole hour, congratulations. You're an absolute boss. You're an absolute champ. Thank you for that. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys found that, you know, just the conversation itself I found was very insightful, and I found that there's just so much stuff that you don't even know about, you know, as a spectator of racing, right? Like about the non-endemic sponsorships, just the programs, all the things that goes in and out in terms of a racing team. And also just Chris's experience as a motor journalist over the last 2 decades have been really fascinating to me. So Just awesome person. Thank you so much again, Chris, for taking the time to talk to me, and I hope that everyone enjoyed it. That's it for now. Make sure you guys, again, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. All right, thank you.